He said, "I'll always be here, no matter what." And I believed him the way a child believes the sea will always touch the shore. For years, we built a rhythm: quiet breakfasts, gentle hands, promises that felt like anchors. But one night, under the hum of our bedroom lamp, I said I wanted to open the marriage. The words trembled between us like glass about to crack. His eyes changed, not with anger, but something colder, like he was watching a version of me disappear. I told him it wasn't about leaving. It was about being more honest, about the parts of myself I'd hidden just to keep us safe. He nodded, silent, and kissed my forehead like a goodbye he didn't want to say out loud. By morning, his side of the bed was untouched. His phone gone. His toothbrush missing. The note on the counter said only, "I love you." I just can't love like that. And I keep wondering, was it honesty that broke us, or the fear of being seen too clearly? Would you risk everything for the kind of love that terrifies the one person who promised to stay? I thought he'd call, maybe just once, even a single message. "I need space, I'm confused. I'll come back when I can breathe." But nothing came. The silence became its own kind of noise, humming under every moment of my day. I checked my phone so often it started to feel like a pulse, proof that I was still waiting. I replayed that night again and again, my voice trembling, his jaw tightening. The pause before he whispered, "Are you unhappy with me?" I wasn't. That's what hurts the most. I wanted more, not instead. I wanted to expand, not replace. But he heard less. Less of him. Less love. Maybe that's what he feared, being measured against someone else and losing. I told myself he needed time, but time without words starts to rot. Do you know that feeling? When absence becomes louder than presence? At night, I talk to him in my head. I imagine him listening, leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, eyes soft but guarded. I tell him I didn't mean to threaten what we had. I just wanted to name the hunger we both pretended wasn't there. Maybe he felt it too. The quiet curiosity, the passing glances that never turned into words. Love had become a habit, a pattern too comfortable to question, and I wanted to stretch it, to see what it could hold if we stopped pretending we were untouched by desire. But now, every sound, the fridge hum, the creak of the floorboards, feels like him leaving again. I keep asking myself, if love is honest only when it's easy, is it love at all? Days blur. I return to work, smile when I'm supposed to, laugh when people ask how we are. I say he's traveling, and maybe that's true, in a way. Traveling away from the version of us that once felt safe. I scroll through old photos, his arm around me at the lake, sunlight caught in his hair, my hand clutching his shirt like I never wanted to let go. I didn't. I still don't. But maybe love can't live on memory alone. I tried deleting his messages, but my thumb hovered over the screen, unable to erase what still aches. It's strange how someone can feel so present in their absence, like a ghost that haunts through silence, not sound. I drove past his favorite cafe today, the one where we first said I love you between sips of burnt espresso. The chair he used to sit in was empty, sunlight painting it gold. I wanted to go in, to sit there, to pretend he'd walk through the door any second. But I couldn't. I just sat in my car, watching strangers move in slow motion, their laughter muffled through the glass. I realized something then. He hadn't vanished because I suggested an open marriage. He vanished because it forced him to see love without ownership. And maybe that's something he was never ready for. Maybe most people aren't. Maybe I'm not either. But I can't go back to pretending love is a cage we call comfort. The first week without him feels like waiting for a message that will never come. every vibration, every pain. I check it instantly, hoping his name lights up my screen. But it never does. I write long drafts I never send. Words like "I miss you, I didn't mean to scare you, please talk to me." They sit there, unsent, like confessions too fragile to release. Nights are the hardest. The space beside me in bed is no longer cold. It's indifferent. I sleep with the lamp on now, as if light can fill the silence he left behind. My friends say I should move on, but they don't understand. He wasn't gone. He was everywhere. He lived in the smell of the pillow, in the mug I couldn't wash, in the quiet I couldn't bear. On the 10th day, I finally text him. "Can we talk?" No reply. I see the 2 blue ticks appear, then vanish under the next message I send. I just want to understand. Still nothing. My chest tightens with every passing hour. I scroll through our old messages, thousands of tiny moments, jokes, plans, tenderness captured in words. I notice how often he wrote forever. It used to feel comforting. Now it sounds like a promise he never meant to keep. I realize something cruel. The more I try to reach him, the smaller I become. My words start to sound desperate, and I hate myself for it. But silence has its own language, and I'm learning to read it. I started going to the park where we used to walk. The air smells like rain and cut grass. I sit on the same bench where he once said, "You make me feel like home." I didn't understand then how heavy that word could be. Maybe I was too restless to be someone's home. Or maybe he never wanted to share it. A couple walks past me, their hands brushing. Eyes full of that fragile warmth I used to know. I feel a strange ache, not jealousy, but grief for the version of myself who believed love could survive any truth. Maybe honesty doesn't always save love. Maybe sometimes it burns it to ash so something freer can rise. I got a message today. Not from him, from an unknown number, just a few words. He just needs time. My breath caught midair, relief and pain tangled in my chest. Time? How much of it? How long until he stops needing distance and starts needing me again? I wanted to ask who it was, but I already knew. His sister, the only one who still talks to me. I should feel grateful. But instead, I feel smaller, like a guest in my own love story, waiting for permission to re-enter. I stare at the message for a long time before deleting it, because maybe "he needs time" isn't an update, it's a goodbye disguised as kindness. That night, I step outside for the first time in days. The city feels too alive. Cars passing, laughter spilling from bars, neon lights painting the wet pavement. I walk aimlessly until I reach the bridge we once stood on, watching lights shimmer over the water. I whisper into the night, "I'm still here." Not to him, to myself, because maybe love isn't about staying together. It's about staying honest, even when it hurts. Maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't. But I'll keep the door open. Not for him, but for the truth that started it all. I didn't expect to hear from him again, but on a quiet Sunday morning, my phone buzzed. Just one line, "Can we meet?" My heart stuttered. It's strange how easily hope slips back in, like light under a closed door. I didn't even think, I just said yes. The hours before, seeing him stretched endlessly, filled with questions I couldn't answer. Would he look different? Would I? I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd smile, how I'd stop myself from asking, "Why did you leave?" But when I saw him at the cafe, everything went silent. He looked the same, tired, softer, older somehow. And all I could think was, this is what distance does. It doesn't erase love. It just reshapes it into something quieter, more cautious. He told me he'd been thinking a lot about marriage, about love, about who he was before we built everything together. He said he didn't leave because I wanted an open marriage. He left because he realized how little he knew about himself outside of us. His voice shook when he said it, and I could see he meant it. I wanted to reach across the table to hold his hand, but something stopped me. Maybe pride. Maybe the quiet understanding that this wasn't a reunion, it was a reckoning. We weren't who we used to be, and maybe we never would be again. But still, there was something holy about that moment. Two people telling the truth, even if it hurt. He asked if I'd been with anyone since he left. The question felt like a knife hidden behind softness. I told him the truth. I hadn't, not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't ready to touch anyone with the kind of honesty I'd found too late. He nodded, eyes darkening. Then he said he'd tried. Once, it didn't last. He said it felt like cheating, even though technically he'd already left. There was no anger, no jealousy, just this hollow understanding that love doesn't vanish when you stop sharing a bed. It lingers in the spaces no one else can fill. When the conversation drifted, I told him what I'd meant that night. That open didn't mean empty. That I wanted to explore love without lying about desire. He listened, really listened this time. His shoulders softened. He said, "I was scared you'd stop needing me." I told him needing someone isn't the same as owning them. For a long moment, he said nothing. Just looked at me with an expression I hadn't seen in months. Not love exactly, but something close to surrender. Like he finally saw that love could be wide and still be real. Before we parted, he reached for my hand. His touch was light, almost hesitant. "I don't know if I can do this," he whispered, "but I want to understand." Those words, small, trembling, felt like the first real step towards something new. Not reconciliation, not yet, but maybe forgiveness. As he walked away, I didn't feel abandoned this time. I felt released. Maybe that's what love becomes when it grows up. It stops asking to be owned and starts learning to let go with grace. I watched him disappear into the sunlight, and for the first time since he left, I didn't follow him in my mind. After that meeting, the world didn't change, but I did. The air felt lighter, my thoughts less sharp. I stopped checking my phone every hour. Some days, I even forgot he existed, and then guilt would rush in like a tide. I wondered if he thought of me too, or if I had become another version of the past he was learning to live without. Nights were quieter now. I didn't dream of him anymore. I dreamed of peace. Still, sometimes when I closed my eyes, I could almost feel his warmth beside me. The ghost of a body that once fit perfectly against mine. It's strange how love lingers in muscle memory long after it leaves your life. I started seeing someone new. Not seriously, just coffee, conversation, curiosity. His laughter didn't echo like my husband's, and maybe that's what I liked about it. It didn't remind me of what I'd lost. I told him the truth about my marriage on the second date. He didn't flinch. Just nodded, thoughtful, and said, "That's brave." No one had called it that before. Brave. The word stuck with me. Maybe being open wasn't about sharing bodies. Maybe it was about refusing to hide, even from your own truth. For the first time, I felt like the version of myself that had scared my husband away was finally free to breathe. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the sound of the new man's voice, the way he didn't try to fix or define anything, just listened. I realized how much I'd missed that. With my husband, love had become something to protect, to hold still, like a photograph that couldn't age. But real love moves. It shifts. It breathes. It demands evolution. Maybe that's what scared him. That change could come without catastrophe. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if he was learning that lesson too, wherever he was. Weeks passed. We didn't speak again, but one evening, I got a letter. His handwriting, unmistakable. No envelope, just a folded sheet slipped under my door. My hands shook as I opened it. He wrote that he'd been to therapy, that he was starting to understand why the idea of openness had felt like loss instead of trust. He said he wasn't asking to come back, only to tell me he was grateful, that I'd made him see love as something more than a promise to stay. I cried, not because it hurt, but because it finally didn't. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer with the rest of our memories. Rings, photos, tickets from places we once loved. Then I walked out to the balcony. The city lights stretched endlessly, alive and indifferent. I whispered a quiet thank you to the night. Not for him, not even for love, but for the courage it took to ask for more. The kind of courage that doesn't guarantee happiness, but promises truth. As the wind brushed against my skin, I realized something simple and sacred. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was living. Months pass, and life begins to move again. Slowly, naturally. I start laughing without feeling guilty. I start buying fresh flowers, cooking for one without the ache of absence. There's still a space in my heart with his name carved into it, but it doesn't bleed anymore. It hums softly, like a reminder of something that once mattered deeply. The new man and I see each other more often now. It's gentle, unhurried. He doesn't ask for promises. I don't offer guarantees. It feels like breathing clean air after years of holding my breath. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection smiling without thinking, I realize healing doesn't arrive all at once. It slips in quietly, disguised as ordinary joy. The new man asks if I ever think about my husband. I tell him, yes, sometimes. He doesn't flinch, doesn't compete, just nods and says, "You don't have to erase love to make room for more." I look at him, surprised by how simple that sounds. Maybe that's what we all get wrong. Thinking love is a contest of space, when it's really a collection of truths that can coexist. That night, when he kissed me, I didn't feel like I was betraying anyone. I felt like I was coming home to myself. One evening, I find an old voicemail from my husband buried in my phone. His voice is calm, playful. He's telling me to buy milk, laughing in that way that used to melt me. I listened twice, maybe 3 times. Then I delete it. Not because I don't love the sound of him, but because love shouldn't live in recordings anymore. It belongs to memory, not mourning. I realized then that forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. Sometimes it's just the moment you stop needing an ending to understand the story. Knew it sure to be understand the story. A few days later, I dream of him again. Not as the man who left, but as someone sitting across from me, smiling, peaceful. In the dream, I'm not angry, and he's not afraid. We just sit there, hands resting on the table, the silence between us finally kind. When I wake up, I realize that dream wasn't about him. It was my heart practicing peace. I whisper into the stillness, "I hope you found what you were looking for." And for the first time, I mean it without sadness. It's Sunday again. I walk by the cafe where it all began, the same window, the same soft hum of life spilling into the street. I stop watching strangers laugh over their coffee, their voices rising like small waves. For a moment, I imagine him there too, somewhere, doing the same, living, breathing, maybe even loving again. And it doesn't hurt, it just feels true. The kind of truth that doesn't demand to be owned, only witnessed. I take a deep breath, smile to myself, and keep walking. The past isn't gone, it's just finished. Freedom doesn't feel like I thought it would. It's not wild or loud, it's quiet, deliberate. I wake up alone now, and the silence feels sacred instead of sad. My mornings are slow, filled with music and sunlight instead of waiting. Sometimes I still glance at my phone, an old reflex, but there's no ache anymore. Just habit fading into peace. I think about how much time I spent trying to be the version of love someone else could understand. Now I'm learning to love without permission, to hold tenderness without ownership. Maybe this is what openness truly means, not sharing your body, but your truth. I started writing again, not about him, not even about love exactly, but about everything that came after. The quiet courage of staying, the grief of letting go, the strange beauty of being alone without feeling lonely. My words felt clumsy at first, like I was learning a new language, but the more I wrote, the more I realized he hadn't broken me. He'd uncovered me. There's a kind of intimacy that comes only after you've lost everything you thought kept you safe. The kind that whispers, "You're still here." And that's enough. Sometimes I meet people who remind me of him, his quiet humor, the tilt of his smile, but they don't unsettle me anymore. Instead, I feel gratitude. For what we had, for what ended, for what grew in its place. I used to think love was measured by who stayed. Now, I know it's measured by who you become after someone leaves. Maybe we were never meant to last. Maybe we were meant to awaken each other. And that's still love, in its purest, most unspoken form. One evening, the new man asks if I've ever thought about seeing my husband again. I smile. Not because I want to, but because I already have. Every time I choose honesty over fear, I tell him no. There's nothing left to say that hasn't already been felt. He nods, taking my hand, and we sit in silence. Not the kind that hides tension, but the kind that holds peace. I realize love doesn't always demand presence. It sometimes just asks for respect. Maybe that's what I'll carry with me forever. The grace to love without needing to possess. I visit the sea alone. It's windy, the waves restless and loud. I stand barefoot in the cold sand, eyes closed, letting the salt air sting my lips. The water rushes toward me and then pulls away again. Constant, endless, free. I whisper to it. I understand now. The sea doesn't answer, but it doesn't need to. I smile because I know the truth at last. Love isn't about holding on or letting go. It's about learning to move with the tide and not drown in it. It's been almost a year since he left. I don't mark the date anymore, but sometimes it finds me, like a scent I can't quite place. Familiar, but no longer painful. I live alone now and I like it. My apartment hums with small joys. Music playing softly in the morning, the smell of coffee, the sound of rain tapping on the windows. I used to think love was something you could lose, but now I know. It only changes form. It becomes air, laughter, memory. It never disappears. I carry him with me, but not as a wound, more like a song that once meant everything, and now simply reminds me I survived. One evening, I find a photo of us tucked inside a book. I'd forgotten it was there. We're smiling, sunlight, sea breeze, everything simple and young. I stare at it for a moment before sliding it back between the pages. Not because I can't bear to look, but because I don't need to anymore. Some loves aren't meant to be reopened. They exist to remind us of who we were when we first learned to feel deeply. I close the book, place it on the shelf, and smile to myself. The past is safe there, kept, honored, and complete. He sends one last message months later. Thank you for loving me the way you did. No punctuation, no signature, just that. I don't reply. There's nothing left to say that the silence hasn't already spoken. Instead, I read it once, smile, and delete it. Not out of anger, but reverence. Because some chapters deserve to end gracefully, without the noise of explanation. I look out my window and think, maybe love was never supposed to last forever. Maybe it was supposed to teach us how to begin again. I walk through the city alone at night, lights flickering on wet pavement, the air cool and alive. I see couples holding hands, laughing, rushing past me, and for the first time I don't feel outside of it. I feel part of it all. The rhythm, the pulse, the unending story of love in its countless forms. I don't need someone to prove mine exists anymore. It lives quietly inside me now, steady and full. Love became something larger than two people. It became the space I walk through with an open heart. Sometimes I still hear his voice in my mind. The way he said, "I'll always be here no matter what." I used to think that meant forever. Now I know he was right, just not in the way I imagine. He's here in the lessons, in the gentleness I've learned for myself, in the courage to ask for more and still be kind. I whisper into the night, "You kept your promise." Then I smile, close my eyes, and breathe. The story isn't about who stayed or left. It's about who became real when everything else fell away.